Hello. So I'm gonna tell a story today. But first, update on my nose, as if anyone cares. But update on my nose, it still hurts so fucking bad. Like, I said this in the past couple videos, but out of nowhere, my nose just started hurting. Like, it feels like I've gotten punched in the nose, but there's no, like, if you can see, like, there's the marks from my glasses, but there's no bruising or swelling, and it hurts down here, not on those points, you know? Like, hold on. Like, dude, my nose... See, even putting my glasses on, dude, my nose hurts so fucking bad, and I've been taking so much ibuprofen and Tylenol, and that is not good for you. That is not something I like to do. I like to take it only when, like, absolutely necessary. I keep leaving my fucking keys in my car, and I have an extra set, but my dumbass just, like, keeps leaving my keys in my car, and I'm gonna end up, you know, killing my battery. Hopefully I don't forget this time. Sorry, hang on. I know this is a shitty way to start a video, but anyways, to my story. So there was a time where I lived in this house, and it was actually the house my mom grew up in. So my mom grew up in a 2-bedroom house. It's very small. Probably the smallest house I've ever been in. And she was raised there. She, you know, grew up in a poor home, and it was her and her 4 siblings and her parents, and, you know, they just, you know, made do with what they had. And then, you know, my grandpa died, so my grandma moved out and moved into an apartment, and sold the property, sold the home to my uncle. And then there was a time where I was financially struggling. I, you know, had been homeless here and there. I had some struggles. So what I did was I found out that my uncle owned it. I didn't know at the time that family owned it, and so I asked him if he would rent it to me, and he said he would. And rent was cheap as fuck. It was $400 a month for rent. That's it. Like, cheap as fuck, right? I wish I could find a place with that kind of rent now, but I mean, you get what you pay for. The place, whoever had lived in there before my uncle, like, whoever he rented it to before or whatever, I don't know, they tore that fucking bitch up. It was disgusting. When I walked in there, I was like, this is not the home my mom grew up in. Like, this is not the home I went to as a child, you know, throughout my entire childhood. This is not what I remember, right? It was disgusting. The walls were all grimy and gross, and the carpet was ugh, ugh. But I needed a place to stay, and $400 for rent was affordable for me. So I moved in, and I was with a boyfriend at the time. He was the boyfriend who I ended up getting arrested for abusing me. He punched me in the jaw, fucked it all up. I still wear a mouthpiece for my jaw. Anyways, it's that guy. I have a video about that if you want to watch it. But it's about that. I was with him. And it was a very tumultuous relationship. We fought all the time. It was constant arguing, talking shit. But this is when I lived there after I got him arrested. And he obviously didn't live there anymore, but I still lived there. But he had fucked over so many people. Like, he was a shady guy, right? He would just, like, fuck people over and take shit from people and do all this shady shit. And then it would come back on me. I wouldn't even know he was doing half this shit. And he would come home, and, you know, people were, like, looking for him. I'm like, you stupid motherfucker. Like, this is supposed to be my safe place. And you come back here and people are looking for you. They're going to come looking for me, too. Anyways, so my windows have been busted in. My back door has been busted in. When I lived in this home, I never felt safe. It was in a really shady neighborhood. But, you know, whatever, it was a place to stay. But this story is about... And it's going to be disgusting, but, like, this is part of living in an ancient, decrepit old house. There were mice. And I just wanted to tell a little story time about a couple times when I had to deal with it. This house had a mouse infestation. You could hear them all the time crawling through the walls and the floors. You could hear like little scratching 24/7. It was an actual nightmare. I told my uncle about it, but he said, get decon. And I did, and, you know, I'm sure it killed some of them, but it was an infestation. They were all over the house. You know, they were in the walls, in the floor, in the crawl space under the house. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he could have done, honestly. It would have cost more probably than the house, was worth. And so I just kind of had to deal with it. And there were mouse droppings all over my clothes. I had to constantly clean my clothes. It was not a safe place to be because of outside dangers, but also because it wasn't healthy. But there was one time where I went into the kitchen to get something to eat. I flipped the light on, and I see, like, I kept the house spotless because of the mice problem, right? Like, I always swept. I never left a single crumb anywhere. I was always, like, when it came to food, I did not leave food in the house. Like, obviously in the fridge and canned things in the cabinets and stuff, but I never left open containers anywhere because I knew if I did, I wouldn't be able to eat it the next day. Like, there were so many mice, you could not have an open bag of cereal. They would chew through the plastic, and like you couldn't have food like that in this house. So I kept everything in the fridge that I could, and then everything else was like canned or like a mouse can't get in it. You know what I mean? And when it came to my dishes, instead of leaving bowls and plates sitting upward, I would set them upside down. That way, if they crawled over it, at least they weren't crawling over the part I was eating off of. This is so gross, but whatever. But I walked into the kitchen in the middle of the night, turned the light on, and this motherfucking mouse comes out of my toaster, crawls across the wire, because it's plugged in, and that's how it got from the wall to, you know what I mean? Like, it used the wire, like, walked across it like a fucking circus. That was the only place that had crumbs, and I never in a million years thought about the little breadcrumbs that fall into the bottom of the toaster. I didn't even think about that. Everything else in the house was clean. There were no crumbs, no nothing. And I had to throw my fucking toaster away. I was shitty. I was like, I've been eating toast out of that motherfucker. Ugh. Like, it just grossed me out, made me so fucking mad. I'm like, now I can't even have toast because I'm never going to be able to keep the bottom of the toaster clean with all those fucking little, like, every time you put a piece of toast in there, there's going to be breadcrumbs, right? So that was one thing. Another time, I got woken up in the middle of the night, and I saw it just dashing across my room. One of many, right? And it was crawling up the curtains. And I just remember I could not go back to sleep for the rest of the night. Like, it was in my room. Like, I didn't know what to do. It was crawling. It was just like it darted across the room, started going up the curtains. I'm like, where the fuck are you going? And I could never find the holes that they were coming in from. I looked all over the floor. Like, they can get into tiny spaces, and I could never find where they were coming from. But you could just hear them in the walls. It was serious, actual nightmare. Like, you could hear them 24/7. It didn't matter what time it was. It didn't matter where you were in the house. You could hear them scurrying through the walls and through the floors. And here is the worst one. This one fucked me up. I wasn't asleep yet, but I was laying in my bed on my pillow, and I was laying on my side like this, let me just play this shit out. Like, I was laying the other way, right? And I fucking roll over on my pillow, and there is a mouse. Hold on. There is a mouse sitting on my pillow where my head is, looking at me like this far away from my face. Like, I roll over, and this bitch is looking at me this close. I screamed. I jumped up out of my bed. It ran off somewhere, and I was done. I was just like, these motherfuckers have the balls to come up to my pillow. Aren't they supposed to be afraid of me? Like, out of all the places in this house, you want to chill on my pillow and just look at me while if that motherfucker would have crawled on me, oh my God, it would have been over. Like, it fucked me up so bad. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I could not go back to sleep. It was a fucking nightmare living in that house. When I lived in that house, I've never owned a gun, but I had knives stashed all over that whole house. Like, I was straight up paranoid. Like, when I finally moved out of that house, the people, like my friends and family that were helping me move, they're like, found another knife. They're like, Kim, why do you have these all over the house? I'm like, motherfuckers are always breaking in my windows and my doors. Like, I'm paranoid. I can't ever sleep because of these fucking mice. I can't. And when I lived there, I didn't have hardly any furniture. It looked like a fucking trap house. It wasn't, because I wasn't selling drugs or anything, but it looked like a fucking trap house. Like, you walk in, and there is a chair and a table in the living room. and a mattress and a TV and a nightstand in the bedroom. And in the kitchen, there is a kitchen table with 2 chairs. And none of the shit matched. None of the shit. And then the other bedroom was empty. The laundry room, empty. It was a shit show. And it just sucks because that house for me had so many positive memories from my childhood. That was the house my mom grew up in. That was the house that I always went to as a child when I was, getting watched by my grandma and my papa. And like in my mind, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. Like when I think about the home I lived in with the mice and the fucking boyfriend who fucking beat the shit out of me, I don't think of that as the same home as I used to get watched by my grandparents in. It was the same home, but to me, in my memory, I see them as 2 separate places, because it was just 2 completely different experiences. And then my uncle, the landlord, hang on. Got irritated with me because all the shit that was happening. I'm like, it's not my fucking fault that people break in. It's not my fucking fault this place is covered with fucking mice. Like, I didn't get it. And then, like, when I moved in, the place was disgusting. He's like, you can move in, but you have to pay a $200 security deposit and you have to clean the place. Cool, fine. I'll get that security deposit back because I walked into a hole in the wall that was filthy. So I will get that back when I move out. No, he said, you have to clean it again if you want that money back. When I moved in, it was disgusting. It's better now than it was when you gave it to me. And now I have to clean it again? I said, fuck that $200. I could have used that $200, but I said, fuck that $200. You can go fuck yourself. You're being a dick. Like, why would I not get my security deposit back when it's in better shape than it was when... That's a whole nother story. Me and him had problems. He's not around anymore. He's deceased. But, like, we had problems. But that is one of many stories from in that house. And I didn't even live there very long. I only lived there for a few months. But it was such a bad time and a bad place that there's just so much I could tell. So many stories I could tell. The only time... You know what? I'll go into them later. I was getting ready to go into it now. But... they deserve their own video. But yeah, that was the time where a mouse shared my fucking pillow for no goddamn reason. Freaked me the fuck out. I don't know. Like I said, I remember it in a different light than I remember it when I was a child. It's like it was 2 different places. But that's what happens when you struggle and you make bad choices. So if you watch this, learn from my mistakes. Don't make bad choices and live in shitholes. Like, just don't. It's not worth it. Like, was it better than being homeless? Yes, of course. But it was really uncomfortable all the time. It's not like it wasn't a home. It was very uncomfortable all the time. And I never felt safe. And I never felt clean. And I never felt comfortable in that home. I'm going to go ahead and go because it's hot as fucking here. Just remember that there's always hope that tomorrow will be a better day.